Let's have a look at the papers. Flows here. UK papers are going to start with. Continuing to react to the aftermath of Saturday night's terrorist attack, of course. Metropolitan Police naming three of the attackers and warning that a new strategy is needed to stop jihadi terrorism.
Yes, there's a warning on the front page of The Guardian, in fact, from the Metropolitan Police. Britain faces a completely different level of terror threat. You can see that's the police warning, a photo there of a vigil held near Tower Bridge. Also on the front page, a photo of one of the attackers. We've decided to blur that photo here at France 24. 27-year-old who's been identified as Karam Butt. The Metropolitan Police admit, they admitted yesterday that he was known to the police and MI5 and that they had opened an investigation in 2015 into him, but deemed that he was a low priority.
Several British papers pretty alarmed, really, that somebody known to the police, known to the intelligence services, managed to slip through the net here. It's not the first time it's happened either, is it?
Well, according to the Times, it's the third time in 3 months, and also there are plenty of previous cases as well. You can see here a photo of the murder of Lee Rigby back in 2013. We also decided to blur that image. The attackers known to the police as being two extremists. It's really raised fears over the current warning system that's in place. And according to the Times, this case is very alarming in particular because Karam Butt had links, according to their information, to a suspect in the London bombings back in 2005. According to the Times, he worked for a man accused of helping to train the July 7th bomb ringleader, Mohammed Sadiq Khan. And so the Times says the fact that he, was linked to that person, was known to police, is particularly alarming.
Now, this is putting a lot of pressure, of course, on Prime Minister Theresa May. She's found herself on the defensive, really, as rivals challenge her record on security. Now, there have been suggestions she'd actually resign in the wake of the London Bridge attack now.
And the Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, has agreed with those suggestions. He accuses Theresa May and the Conservatives of presiding over major cuts to the police force since 2010. Now, the Prime Minister says the government has provided record funding for counter-terrorism policing. What is the situation? What's the deal? Well, The Independent here takes a closer look, is fact-checking all this, and says, look, if you look at figures, indeed there have been financial cuts and there have been cuts to the numbers of police officers. But has that made the UK less safe? That is a question that is impossible to answer. According to The Independent, to answer that question, an official inquiry would be needed.
Let's move on to another big story for you now in the press today. This is the Gulf being hit by its biggest diplomatic crisis in years. Arab nations, as we were just talking about with Delano, including Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Bahrain, all cutting their ties with Qatar.
Major story, as you can imagine. Let's start with the regional press outside of those countries involved. You can see L'Orient Le Jour, the front page of the Lebanese paper here, talking about how Doha has been rejected, ostracized from the Sunni camp, which essentially accuses Qatar of destabilizing the region with its support for Islamist groups. Now, according to L'Orient Le Jour, what's really happening is that other Gulf states want to stop a plan that Qatar has to come across as a major power in the region. Essentially, they want Qatar to pipe down and get in line, and so that's what they're trying to do here by cutting ties.
So what are Arab language papers saying about this then?
Well, I got a little help from Majouba Karam from our Arab language press review team. She, first of all, picked out the front page of an Egyptian paper. So unsurprisingly, this Egyptian paper is very much in favor of cutting ties with Qatar. You can see this is the front page of Al Aram, saying that Qatar is under embargo. Now, in this opinion piece, once again in Al Aram, they're talking about how Qatar thought it was going to be able to call the shots in the region, direct policy, taking advantage of its channel Al Jazeera to be a mouthpiece to spread its, quote, poison and hate. But this opinion piece says, look, our patience had its limits, and that's why we're cutting ties.
Other papers are a little bit more measured, though?
Well, let's take a look at Qatari papers. Unsurprisingly, they're a little bit more upset about what's going on. This is Al-Sharq, which is a Qatari paper, talking about how this is unfair. It's a surprising decision to quarantine Doha. There is no legal or logical justification here. I pulled out a piece from a pan-Arab paper based in London, Rai al-Yum, which is really alarmed and says, look, this could be just the beginning This piece is afraid the situation could really spiral out of control, lead to some sort of a conflict. And in fact, that opinion is echoed in an interview in Les Echos, the French business paper. This is a political scientist named Frédéric Ancel, who says this is just another step towards the balkanization of the Arab world. Now, just to end up, I pulled out some cartoons that we've seen in Arab language papers. First of all, Al-Quds Al-Arabi, once again, a pan-Arab paper based in London. This shows the Gulf Cooperation Council as a wheel that's barreling down a hill here, falling apart. You can see in the top right-hand corner there that country, well, that's Qatar, that's flown off this wheel. Doesn't really bode well for the future of the Gulf Cooperation Council. And just one last cartoon. This is Al-Arabi Al-Hajjadid, which is a pan-Arab paper based in London as well. It's a little bit weird, this one. It shows a chameleon, which shows the disagreements between Arab language nations, lighting a match on the 50-year candles marking the Six-Day War, which was a big defeat for Arab nations, so perhaps it could continue.
OK, Flo, thank you very much. Flo with the papers.